And now I want to hand it over to the president of Ukraine, who has as much courage as he has determination. Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin. President Putin. He's going to beat President Putin. President Zelensky. I'm so focused on beating Putin, we got to worry about it. Anyway, Mr. President.
I'm better.
You are a hell of a lot better. Look, I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, but I think she was not qualified to be president. So let's start there. Now, do you think our democracy is under siege based on this court? Do you think democracy is under siege based on Project 2025? Do you think he means what he says when he says he's going to do away with the civil service, eliminate the Department of Education, make sure, we've never been here before. And that's the other reason why you say, hand off to another generation. I've got to finish this job. I've got to finish this job because there's so much at stake.
Reserve weaponization, I've heard it called, with more central banks starting to buy gold rather than bonds or treasuries. Where does it go from here, and why are you so bullish?
Yeah, if we're just at the beginning of this trend, that's why we're bullish on gold, because you haven't seen any inflows into the ETFs in the United States, neither gold bullion nor gold shares. It's been foreign bank buying, like you're saying, central bank buying. What else are you going to buy, right? If you don't want the dollar, you got a Swiss franc, maybe. The euro, the yen is out, right, because of all the, the weakness in that currency. So Bitcoin is your alternative. So I think next year, I call it the 2025 fiscal reckoning. You got Social Security bankruptcy looming. In the U.S., that's when we solve problems, the year after a presidential election. So it really matters, how we're going to solve these problems next year. And I think that's all Fed easing, all good for gold and Bitcoin.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And I come back with that video just to make you think.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
And make sure you join the Patrons. If you're not a part of the Patrons, make sure you're hitting the Cash App. And guys, you can't make this stuff up. Remember, guys, you're watching a movie. We have Biden calls Zelensky Putin. We have Biden calls Kamala Trump. And then Biden talks about Project 2025. Democracy is under siege. And we know we've seen that movie before. But we know who's behind Project 2025. It's the Alphabet Boys. Some of it is correct. But remember, guys, all this is for the fourth industrial revolution. We have the world reserve currency has to come to an end. And that's the reason why the central banks are buying up gold. Not bonds, not treasuries. They're buying up gold because remember, guys, they printed 80% of all money in existence in 2 years to destroy the dollar quicker. Remember, fiat always dies. We had to move over to a new system, and that's the new digital economy. And we know this is biblical. There's nothing to be scared about. As the fact is, get yourself and your family prepared. That's just the key. It's preparation because remember, my people perish from the lack of knowledge because they rejected. What are you going to do with that knowledge? And we have tech finally takes a beating today and small cap stocks get a lift. But remember, guys, I told you, when Bitcoin took that dip, I told you stocks will take a dip also. Guys, it's either or. Either we lead down or the stock market leads down. It has never changed. Remember, guys, it's nothing but the algorithm. It's all rigged. And we know the central banks have kept interest rates higher for longer. And we know at the end we're definitely going to pay. Last month, guys, $140 billion just to service the debt. That's 1 month, guys. So we know that's over $1 trillion a year just to service the debt. Every citizen should be upset. But remember, guys, they stay distracted on things that don't matter. They got a few $1,000s. They was able to sit at home, get free money. Now they've paid 100 times back with all this inflation. Rent up 32%. Food is ridiculous. If you allow the government to feed you, guys, we know eventually they're going to starve you. Don't fall for the devil's tricks. And remember, the crypto teacher told you, because he knows when it comes to the NWO, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
Ultimately, I think so. It's hard to know with a one-day move. So when you have such a violent move like you had today, with semiconductors falling, and basically the rest of the market except for the Mag 7 doing well, you have to say, is that just a one-day reversal, or have we finally hit a trend? I'd like to scale back and say, what's the big force that's been in the U.S. markets and the U.S. economy? It's been government spending. And that's why we didn't have a recession this year. If you look back at all the surprises, why interest rates haven't fallen yet, it explains almost everything. But we have this huge government spending at very low unemployment rates. So my thinking is the Fed is in a box. They have to be stimulative. And then we have a big fiscal question next year. Do the Trump taxes go, do they roll off? Do taxes go up? It really depends who's elected there. I think the pressure is on the Fed to ease in face of all that, which is good for small caps.
Oftentimes lately, it seemed that risk assets have moved together, sometimes regardless of size, and Bitcoin has acted like a risk asset. Bitcoin was weird today, though. It spiked up and then went down. What do you think is moving Bitcoin most these days, especially as we look at inflation and expectations around yields?
Right. Big picture, I'm very bullish on, it started a year ago, Bitcoin and gold. Why? Because you had the sort of fundamentals of Bitcoin, you had the halvening and all that interest stuff there. But then you had the Fed easing, just like we were talking about, same trend. It's like fuel for Bitcoin and gold investors, right? The Fed easing. So it's super bullish. Why did Bitcoin's got some selling from the German government. There's the Mt.Gox selling, the short-term stuff. But we've seen only a 20% correction, John, in the Bitcoin price. And that's kind of normal in a bull market. So at Van Eck, we like to say we're hodling, which is holding on for dear life. So we're long-term investors. And all the ETFs pretty much have seen inflows, including last month when the price was down 10%. So it's a drip from retail investors.
It just keeps on climbing, Tyler. New Treasury data shows the U.S. government spent $140 billion on interest costs just last month. That's a 14% jump from the same month a year ago as the debt has grown and amid high interest rates. Fiscal year to date, interest costs are now 33% higher, or $215 billion higher than they were this time last year. Besides interest, spending at the Social Security Administration was up an adjusted 8% last month. That's due to the cost of living adjustment made to account for inflation. And spending at the Department of Education was up a pretty remarkable 228% due to a recalculation of student loan subsidies. Top line, guys, for the fiscal year so far, the government is running a roughly $1.3 trillion deficit, but that's 9% smaller from this time a year ago.
Going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
And so we'll import Chinese-based CBDC technology. So it's going to be CBDC in a box provided to you by the People's Bank of China.
But every stock, every bond, every currency, every commodity, every piece of art, every private business, every piece of real estate will eventually be a token on a blockchain, an entry on a ledger, permanent and immutable. We will have truth instead of trust, and we will save over $7 trillion a year. 6 to 8% of global GDP is wasted by the friction of the trust industry that's necessary when you have dual entry accounting. With triple entry accounting, which is what a blockchain is, we get rid of all of that friction. It's a beautiful future.
Like what you see in China and their social credit scoring systems, right? If we get identity wrong, it could be a tool to enslave humanity. And if we get it right, it could be a tool to liberate humanity. And as an American, I'm obviously rooting for the one that's on the side of freedom.
Bitcoin is an international asset. And also, I do believe the role of crypto is it's digitizing gold.
I actually believe this technology is going to be very important. Look at it. We have been part of a huge revolution in investing through ETFs. We believe that ETFs will be changing the whole way we invest. Many people still use it as a means, people are investing it for indexing. No, the majority of people who are putting money in in ETFs are active investors that are buying exposure. The entire bond market is being transformed as we talk right now. I believe the next generation for markets, the next generation for securities will be tokenization of securities. And if we could have that distributed ledger that we know every beneficial owner, every beneficial seller, we all have our code of who's buying, who's selling, instantaneous settlement. And think about it, it changes the whole ecosystem.
Chinese bank ICBC has been hit by a ransomware attack, and the U.S. Treasury market, as a result of that, has been disrupted. This, according to the Financial Times. We're getting more right now with Bloomberg's Shonali Bassick. Shonali, what do we know?
Listen, we have the Financial Times now reporting that ICBC, one of China's largest banks here, was hit with a ransomware attack. And remember, they're a very significant intermediary in the Treasury market. The SIFMA has told its members that this has been part of the reason here that the system is kind of clogged up, if you will, during that auction that we saw a little bit before. The attack had prevented ICBC, according to the Financial Times, from settling Treasury trades on behalf of other market participants. A large executive at a major bank also telling the paper that such a large party on the fixed income clearing corp creates major concerns, potentially impacting the liquidity of Treasury markets.
Now, it was not just a poor auction. It was absolutely lousy, and when the dealers have to step in to save a treasury auction, that's a rare occurrence. And
Cryptoteacher and the new World Order book, plus the 3 kids books, It's Time to Re-Educate. Also, new to cryptos, Coinbase, Bitrue, Binance. Do not forget book links and crypto links are in the description. The stock channel, guys. Don't forget to go like, subscribe, spread everywhere. You have your Kobo, your chip stocks, your banking, your gaming. While everybody's sitting at home, get on stocks, the Seaver, the biotech stocks. And while everybody's at home wishing, they were still getting that free money. What are they doing? Drinking and smoking weed. Don't forget about those stocks, and you have a wonderful day. The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids books. I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save New York. COVID-33. Part 3. King Joshua and Grandma Tam goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.